World War I, or the Great War, was one of the deadliest conflicts in history that set the stage for another world war just 20 years later. It was known as the Great War, a land, air and sea conflict so terrible it left over 8 million military personnel and 6.6 million civilians dead. Here are some brutal war records made in World War I. The deadliest sniper of World War I was Francis Pegamagbow. In the bloodshed and chaos that is the battlefields of the First World War, hundreds of thousands of young Canadian men sign up to fight for their country overseas. But there is one who sticks out from the crowd. His bravery and fearlessness are legendary. His fellow soldiers call him Peggy. He was credited with 378 sniper kills and he captured over 300 prisoners. On August 4, 1914, Great Britain declared war against Germany, and Pegamagbow was among the first to sign up just 10 days later. From 1915 to 1916, Pegamagbow took part in several important battles with the 1st Battalion. During the Second Battle of Ypres, Pegamagbow was present when the Germans unleashed a gruesome new tactic, the chlorine gas attack. In just 3 days, half of his battalion was wiped out after the wind carried gas from nearly 6,000 canisters into their trenches. The next morning, the Canadian 1st and 4th Battalions launched a counter-attack alongside 8 British divisions. As the Allies advanced, Pegamagbow carried messages with complete disregard for the danger. Then came the nightmare that was the Battle of Somme. The Germans called the battle "Das Blutbad," the bloodbath, and it claimed more than 1 million lives, still one of the bloodiest battles in world history. Pegamagbow developed a reputation as a scout by gathering intelligence about enemy activity. He would sneak into no man's land, the torn, deadly ground between opposing trenches, to find mortar positions, machine gun posts, enemy sniper hide sites, patrols, and defenses. He was wounded in the left leg, but was soon back at the front. In the final months of World War I, Pegamagbow earned his 3rd military medal, becoming only one of 39 soldiers to receive that many. Manfred von Richthofen, or famously known as Red Baron, a German fighter pilot who was the deadliest flying ace of World War I. During a 19-month period between 1916 and 1918, the Prussian aristocrat shot down 18 Allied aircraft and won widespread fame for his scarlet-colored airplanes and ruthlessly effective flying style. Originally a cavalryman, Richthofen transferred to the Air Force in 1915 and becoming one of the first members of Fighter Squadron Jagdstaffel II in 1916. He quickly distinguished himself as a fighter pilot. On March 6, Richthofen scored his first confirmed aerial victory over Cambrai, France. His autobiography states, "I honored the fallen enemy by placing a stone on his beautiful grave." On 23rd of November 1916, Richthofen shot down his famous adversary, British ace Major Lenoy Havker, Victoria Cross. Richthofen was flying an Albatros T2 and Havker was flying the older Air Corps DH.2. After a long dogfight, Havker was shot in the back of the head as he attempted to escape back to his own lines. On 6 March, flying his Halberstadt in combat with British FE-8, Richthofen's aircraft was shot through the fuel tank. He was able to force land without his aircraft catching fire. He switched to Albertus T3 on 2 April 1917 and scored 22 victories by June. In the bloody April 1917, alone he shot down 22 British aircraft, including 4 in a single day, raising his official tally to 52. By 1918, Richthofen was regarded as a national hero in Germany and respected by his enemies. Richthofen was shot down and killed near Vaux-sur-Somme on 21 of April 1918. Mata Hari, the exotic dancer who became World War I's most notorious spy. Hari first came to Paris in 1905 and found fame as a performer of Asian-inspired dances. She soon began touring all over Europe, telling the story of how she was born in a sacred Indian temple and taught ancient dances by a priestess who gave her the name Mata Hari, meaning Eye of the Day in Malay. In reality, Mata Hari was born in a small town in northern Holland, and her real name was Margaretha Zelle. She became a famous courtesan, and with the outbreak of World War I, her catalogue of lovers began to include high-ranking military officers of various nationalities. In late 1915, while she was living in The Hague, an honorary German consul offered to pay her for whatever information she could obtain on her next trip to France. In February 1917, French authorities arrested her for espionage and imprisoned her at St. Lazare prison in Paris. In a military trial conducted in July, she was accused of revealing details of the Allies' new weapon, the tank, resulting in the deaths of thousands of soldiers. She was convicted and sentenced to death. The Battle of Verdun, fought between Germany and France, became the longest battle in modern history. It was originally planned by the German Chief of General Staff, Erich von Falkenhayn, to secure victory for Germany on the Western Front. During the first few days, the Germans breached the French front lines and captured Fort Douaumont. The French High Command was anxious to retake the fort because of its dominant position high above the battlefield. General Pétain then took command of the troops. He was ordered to defend Verdun. He increased the volume of traffic along the Bar-le-Duc to Verdun road, the only route taking men and munitions up to the battlefield. From 6 of March 1916, the Germans also attacked on the left bank of the river Meuse, yet despite furious fighting on Le Mort-Homme in March and April, they were unable to breach the French front line. At the end of June, they launched a massive attack which failed. In the autumn of 1916, the French counter-attacked. On 24 of October 1916, they recaptured Fort Douaumont, and a few days later, they entered Fort Vaux. It was empty. The Germans had already left. From 15 to 18 December, the French attacked again, retaking almost all the land they had lost since 21 February. The 1916 battle ended after 10 months of bitter fighting. There are more than 7 lakh victims, 3,05,000 killed and missing.